Then were the witnesses, Ellie? Mr. Saunders, why don't we get the witness back up here? Yeah, I am surprised John's not up here today. I'm sure you want that'd be great. Okay, we all set for the jury to come back out then? Everybody, why don't we stand for the jury? And I guess we have to tell the bailiffs we're ready. Thanks, Sally. Thank you, Ellie. Okay, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, and have a seat. And I trust you had a good afternoon break, and we'll continue on with Ms. Lemko. She's doing direct examination of the witness. Ms. Lemko, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Honor. Now, at some point, I'm going to back up a little bit. You were spending time with your mom, and you were aware of the familial relationship or marital relationship between your mom and your dad. Is that right?
Yes.
And again, when I'm referring to dad, it's your stepdad, Jim.
Yes.
Okay. At the time, as you were growing up, were there issues regarding your parents and allegations of Jim and infidelity with other women?
Yes.
When you're talking about your mother's depression, was that a factor that affected your mom?
Yes.
How did that affect her?
It made her depressed.
Well, around the time she'd hear things like that?
Yes.
Okay. And with regard to that, were you also aware of there being discord between them because of his drinking alcohol?
Yes.
And were there also some issues your parents had regarding money?
Yes.
In fact, one of the houses that they had lived in at some point, was there a foreclosure on that?
Yes.
And that was due to money issues?
Yes.
The reference and the testimony you had offered earlier that your dad used to gamble, was that also a concern for your mother?
Yes.
Through the years, when you spent time with your mother, did your twin daughters also spend some time with your mother?
Yes.
Now, after your mom went missing, initially at that time, when we just took the break, you were referring to the fact that there were various searches that were being done in an attempt to locate your mom. You recall that?
Yes.
You're talking about on that Sunday, the People in Pause search that you were present and you saw. Throughout the ensuing days and months, were there also other various searches by law enforcement?
Yes.
Did those include, we've already heard something about canines, you're talking about People's in Pause. Was there also some searches by horseback for her?
Yes.
When you're talking about searches that were held within the community as well, were there private citizens in the community that came forward to help search?
Yes.
Were those some people that your family was familiar with?
Yeah.
Was there also even some strangers?
Yes.
In the ensuing days when these searches started, and it's my understanding that from the time she went missing and was reported on that Friday morning, that there was, in the next ensuing days and weeks, it was pretty regular, almost daily, every other day, but these were occurring regularly. Is that right?
Yes.
Were you also familiar at some point that there was also dive team searches of some quarries in the area,
Yes.
as well as a drone search up above?
Yes.
Were you also made aware of an aerial search by plane of the area?
Yes.
Now, with respect to these searches, and now I want to start right from the beginning on that Sunday when you start, you're present at the house, and that first week, is your dad, Jim, at the house when these searches are starting to occur?
Yes.
Do you have the opportunity to view what he's doing when you're searching?
Yes.
What's he doing?
Sometimes he'll step outside and see what's going on. Other times he'll be in the house. He was watching the NASCAR race.
Was he drinking anything?
He had a beer.
And you could see that?
Yes.
Do you know if some of the searchers that were coming to help search for your mom also saw the what your dad was doing during these searches?
Yes.
Was it ever brought to your attention that there was really kind of discussed by some of the people that saw this?
Yes.
Was your dad ever one of the people walking around looking for your mother?
No.
Does he have a brother by the name of Peter?
Yes.
Did you see your uncle Peter Prokopovitz assist in a search?
Yes.
Is he around Jim's age?
He is. I'm not sure if he's older or young. I think he's younger.
Okay. When you say younger, more than 5-10 years?
I don't think so.
Did he in fact show up with a couple of his grown daughters?
Yes.
Do you remember seeing him physically walk and search?
Yes.
Were there other individuals that appeared to be older or around your dad's age that were helping in the search?
Yes.
Did you ever overhear any statements that your dad made that were concerning to you when these searches were occurring about your mom?
He would say, we're wasting our time. She's nowhere around here.
He would say she was nowhere around here?
Correct.
Do you know when he would make remarks like wasting your time, did you ever ask him what he meant by that?
No.
Okay. But you found it unusual?
Yes.
When he's saying she was nowhere around here, did he say what here meant?
No.
Do you remember him ever saying she's gone?
I don't recall that.
What you recall is wasting your time and she's nowhere around here.
Correct.
Okay. Was that said out loud that people could hear that?
Yes.
Okay. And you were present at times when that happened?
Yes.
Were there times when your dad wasn't home when the searches occurred?
Yes.
Now, after your mom disappeared the end of April, at some point, did your dad sit down with you and Marcia and talk to you about another relationship that was could or going to be happening in his life?
Yes.
And do you remember when that happened?
Mom had been missing for 3 months.
Okay. Do you remember, was it, if she was missing in April, could it have been June? Could it have been 2 months?
I want to say it was
July? So 3 months.
Well, April, May. Well, could be, I counted April, May, June.
Maybe June? June or July?
June, I would say June or July.
Okay.
I know it was 3 months.
Okay. And at that time, do you remember where you were?
At the kitchen table.
And is that at his residence?
Correct.
And do you remember who's there?
Myself and my sister and Jim were in the house. Wes had some friends in the barn.
Okay. So it's essentially you and, you say your sister, you mean Marcia and
Marcia.
Jim at a table?
Yes.
And do you remember what he talked to you about?
Yes.
What was it?
He had said that an old friend had called him at work and they had gone out for dinner and drinks and had a good time. And then he said, I'm not saying anything is going to happen, but if it should, how would you guys feel?
And did he identify the name of that old friend at that time?
Yes,
Did he say her name?
it was Kathy.
Okay. Did he just refer to as Kathy, or did she have a last
I
name?
don't believe he said her last name.
Okay. When he referred to her as an old friend, did he let you know what his relationship had been with her previous to that time?
He had said he was hooking up with her before he met our mother. And she was teetering the thought of a divorce, and he stated he didn't want to intrude on that. And then left it at that, and then ended up meeting my mom and
So,
pursued a relationship with her.
okay, so he's placing, if your mom is marrying him in 1989, he's placing a relationship with her predating that.
Correct.
Did he make any reference he wouldn't have married your mom?
Yeah, object, Your Honor, to leading.
I'll withdraw that and ask
Yeah,
it
I
differently.
think that would be the best thing to do.
Sure. Do you recall anything else he said about his relationship with Kathy?
Just that she was an old friend, and that, yeah, that he hooked, they went out for dinner.
Okay, and then when you're saying hooking up with him, that means a lot of different things in our generation. So did he say what he meant by, he said she's hooking up with him, or he's hooking up with her?
They had gone out for dinner and drinks.
Okay.
And then he had stated that, I'm not saying anything is going to happen, but if it should, how would we feel?
Okay. And did he indicate that it happened one time around then?
Yes,
So this is July of 2013. It's just a couple months after your mom is gone.
correct?
And around then, he's saying he's only seen her once.
Yes,
Did he acknowledge that he had been talking to her on the phone, if you recall?
no,
Nope. She just called him at work, and then they got together.
correct.
At that time, do you remember, was there a discussion about this, or he just kind of told you about it?
Well, I had said, I told him when he had, because he said, started out the conversation, so where do you think your mom is? And then we said we didn't know, that's why we were there. We were going to try to go through the house and see if there was anything that left behind that would have given us any idea. And that's when all this conversation struck up.
And as you're listening to that, were you concerned?
Oh, so I lost my train of thought. So then I had said, you have every right to be happy and move on, but where is mom? What if she would walk through them doors?
Did he, and did you tell him that?
Yes,
Was he concerned about that?
no,
Okay. Do you recall what his response was?
no.
Okay.
But he did elaborate that he was checking into canceling her health insurance on his plan. And that made us wonder.
Okay. So, and did that happen in that same conversation at the
Yes.
table? Okay. In the days ensuing after your mom went missing, was there a discussion by your father about giving away any of her things?
I didn't hear that,
You didn't. You don't know what Marcia heard?
no.
Okay. So this is the first time you're hearing something about him canceling your mom's health insurance
No,
and,
I did hear that. I heard the health insurance. But about her things, I didn't hear anything.
oh, okay. So this is the first time you're hearing about a relationship, but you had previously heard about him canceling her off of his health insurance.
Oh, you mean in this in the conversation
Sure, at the
that we had
table.
at the table? Right. This is the first time I'm hearing all of this, yes.
Oh, all of it?
Yes.
Okay,
Thinking you're referring to right now.
yeah, okay,
Yes, you are right.
okay. And is that a concern for you if your mother would have walked through the door?
Yes. And then we had said, well, where was their cup of coffee that she had? And of things that he had said, we were trying to, bring it up and ask, well, was the door locked? All this stuff that if she went for a walk.
Yep. And back then, going back to, it's that summer now of 2013, would you say your focus is still trying to find your mom?
Yes,
And when you're hearing this about this relationship and your mom being canceled off of the health insurance, is it your concern that that is no longer your father's concern?
right,
And that's why you were worried about it?
right.
So, and I'm presuming, because you and Marcia, your sisters, are you pretty close?
Yes,
So at the time you're now leaving this place, are you having a discussion amongst yourself, like, what's going on,
yes,
type of thing? Okay. At some point, do you also now talk to your brother Wes? Is your brother Wes still residing with your dad after your mom's missing?
yes,
Okay. And at some point, do you talk to Wes about if he knew that dad's in a relationship?
yes,
Did Wes already know about it?
yes,
So at the time you're hearing about it, and he's told you that, what would you think if I started this? Is Wes sharing with you that this has already been going on?
Yes, he said he hears him on the phone at nighttime, talking and whispering to her, to someone on the phone.
Okay. You didn't know if it was
And-
Kathy.
And then he had mentioned about him having needs.
And so that's an awkward, so that's with your dad. He's talking about his needs. Did he explain to you what those needs were?
No,
Okay. He just referred that he had needs?
correct.
And did he make a reference to Kathy fulfilling them? Or just that he
He
had?
just made that comment.
Okay. Did he, and was this also at that table conversation?
No. My brother had stated that.
Oh, Wes told you that?
Yeah.
Okay. Your dad told him that?
He just said, he's got needs,
Oh, okay.
to that effect.
So you and Marcia were concerned about this, but Wes didn't seem as concerned?
No,
Okay. So you hear about that now I think you're placing it around July of 2013, right? At some point, do you receive information from a Jennifer Friday?
yes,
Okay. And who is Jennifer Friday?
Kathy's daughter.
Okay. How do you come in contact with Jennifer? Who reaches out to who?
She reached out, Marcia had started a Facebook page for Mom in the Missing, and she had reached out through Messenger on there
Okay.
to us.
And what was the Facebook page? What was that?
Help find Victoria Prokopovitz.
Okay. And the intent with respect to that, is that to still extend notice to people about your mom missing?
Correct. That was the quickest way we could get media out there.
Okay. And so you were helping Marcia with that, and you guys were getting this out there to the public?
Correct.
Were there also flyers that were being made around this time to find your mother?
Yes.
Were those being handed out to places?
Yes.
Besides that, were there some benefits that were held in support of this search?
Yes.
Did it cost money for you to attempt to try and find your mom?
Yes.
Did your dad ever organize any of those?
No.
So as Jennifer now reaches out to you, was Jennifer aware her mom was in a relationship with your dad?
I know she knows they were acquaintances at that time, is what we were told. I don't know about a relationship. She had stated being a friend at the time, the first occasion.
Okay. Do you know why she was reaching out to you then?
To give us our condolences because they knew each other.
At some point, did Jennifer reach out with more information?
Yes.
Okay. And do you remember when that occurred?
I believe that was in October we started finding out things.
Okay. But the source of that information then came from Jennifer Friday.
Correct.
Okay. At some point, however, are you made aware that there was information about the relationship between Jim and Kathy Friday that you and Marcia didn't know about?
Yes, we did find out more things.
Okay. So at some point in 2014, so transcending from that year into the next year, at some point are you made aware that Jim is in a relationship with somebody, a romantic relationship?
Yes,
Who is that with?
Kathy,
Okay. And her full name is?
Kathryn Friday.
Okay. Did you ever have cause to meet her?
No,
Through the ensuing years after your mom had gone missing, at some point, did your dad move out of that Coonish Road address?
yes,
And do you remember when that happened?
I'm not sure.
Okay. And at some point, are you made aware where he's moving or who he's moving in with?
He's moving in with Kathryn Friday.
Okay. Through the information that your dad had initially told you and Marcia about his relationship with Kathy and the ensuing years, at some point were you subpoenaed to testify in some court hearings about what you knew relating to your mother's disappearance and information your father had given?
Yes,
And based upon all the information and your contacts with your father, at some point were you made aware that he had been untruthful with you and Marcia about some things relating to his relationship with Kathryn Friday?
yes,
Okay. Now, your mother, since that date in April 26th of 2013, you already indicated you hadn't heard from her. You haven't heard from her at all since that day, is that correct?
correct.
Have you seen her at all?
No,
Have you spoken to anybody else in your family that's ever heard from her?
no,
Have you ever heard from any private citizens that have had contact with her?
no,
Did your mother have friends that she would visit out of state?
no,
Did she ever have a passport?
no,
Did she ever travel out of the country?
no,
Had she pretty much just resided in the state of Wisconsin her entire life?
correct.
Was there one visit to Minnesota?
Yes,
When was that?
we were kids.
Do you remember?
We were young, very grade school. I don't remember exactly the year.
But as far as you're aware, Stacey, is that the only time that you're aware of that your mom's even left Wisconsin?
Yes,
So she didn't have, or strike that, did you ever know your mother to make plans with friends to leave the state?
no,
Around the time, you've referred to the fact your mom likes to drive, but in the last 2 years of her life, did she have her own car anymore?
no,
Particularly in those last 2 years when she didn't have a car, was she dependent on others to give her a ride somewhere?
yes,
Is one of those people your dad?
yes.
Did Wes ever give her a ride?
If his vehicle was working.
Did you ever pick her up?
No,
Did she sometimes, or strike that, so in the last 2 years of her life, That is around the time she had the colon cancer and those couple of surgeries.
Right.
Actually, that would be the last year. Was she known to be going on any long walks or hikes anywhere?
No.
What would you describe with respect to whether your mother was a homebody in the last couple years of her life?
It was.
Did she regularly go out?
No.
Did she regularly go do anything with any friends?
No.
Since your mother went missing in 2013, are there things that your mom has missed in your life?
Yeah.
You said that you have a grandson, Roger, who's 2. She never met Roger?
No, she hasn't.
You used to spend time with your mom and rummaging, and you said crafting. Is that right?
No.
And Stacey, in discussions with your dad, you testified that he talked to you about what was going on with your mom the day that she went missing. Do you recall your dad telling you about Victoria being mad at him?
He said that Mom wanted to stop at the store after her appointment. And he didn't do it. And yeah, they were arguing over a tablecloth.
Was that at Walmart?
Yes.
And he indicated he wouldn't stop at the store?
He didn't say he wouldn't, but they came home, they ate, and he said he went and sat in his recliner, and he was dozing on and off. And then he had said, Mom said, forget it.
And then did he tell you?
And he went to bed.
Okay. And you referred to the fact that your mom was a heavy smoker,
Correct.
right? Would your mom have been known to leave behind cigarettes?
No.
Did she regularly carry her cigarettes if she left a room?
Yes.
So that was something significant to you when you heard those were left behind?
Right.
Was your dad also a smoker?
Yes.
So you referred to the fact that back in 2004, almost 10 years prior, your mom made a reference to if she committed suicide, someone wouldn't find her. Since that time, had your mom ever made a reference like that to you again?
No.
And from what you were aware, you were one of the only people she said that to besides Wes?
Correct.
Now, the time that she did self-medicate, she left a note.
Correct.
And when you indicate you went there on that Sunday and you've started to look through things, you never found anything about that? You never found a note?
Right.
Stacey, I'm showing you what's been marked as exhibit number 29. Do you recognize it?
My mom. That's my mom.
So we're gonna ask to move for this in the admission, Your Honor, and publish it to the jury. And finally, Stacey, after your mom had had these health issues, at some point after she had had her last surgery, did you describe that your mom seemed to kind of have a new lease on life?
Yes.
What do you mean by that?
She had told me she was going to try to make a point to be more involved in our lives.
And when you talk about more involved with her bouts of depressions, were there times that she was more removed?
Yes.
But around the time that she went missing, in the months previous to that, it was your understanding that she was feeling differently about things.
Right.
Stacey, the individual that you've identified as your stepfather, James Prokopovitz, do you see him seated in the courtroom today?
Yes.
Could you briefly just point out to where he's seated and what he's wearing?
He's seated to my left. He's in a blue shirt.
Okay. And can you point with your finger?
Right over there in the middle.
Okay. Let the record reflect that the witness has identified the defendant, James Prokopovitz.
Mr. D'Angelo, any objection?
No objection.
The record will so reflect then.
I have no further questions.
Okay, Ms. Lemko, is that picture marked? Are you moving that
Yes,
in?
I'm sorry. I think as I walked back, I said it, Your Honor, and I wasn't in front of a mic. At this time, the state is moving for the admission of exhibit number 29.
Any objection, Mr. D'Angelo?
No objection, Your Honor.
That I will receive exhibit 29?
Your Honor, at this time, the state would ask if we could, oh, we can't publish it to the jury. I guess I can hold it up to the jury. And we have nothing further then.
Thank you. Mr. D'Angelo, do you have anything?
Yes, Your Honor. Now, Ms. Deere, do you recall how old you were when your mom and Jim first met?
1984, so 10?
84, would that put you, you said you're born in 74, so that would make you around 10?
Yes, I said
Okay.
10.
You're about 10 years old. So when Mother Vicky and Jim first met, how long is it before you moved into their house together? You moved into Jim's house with your mother. Do you recall?
I would say maybe 84, 85.
So shortly after they met, you guys moved into Jim's home, correct?
Yes,
Okay. And do you recall if Jim was still going through his divorce through his first wife at that time?
I believe so, but I'm not 100%.
Sure. And so do you recall how quickly after your mom first started talking to Jim that they started dating? Do you know?
No, that I don't.
Okay. Do you know how they met? Did anybody tell you the story how they met?
I wanted to say truck driving, but I'm not 100%.
Okay. If there was an indication that your mom met him over a CB, or what they call the CB radio,
Yes,
does that jog your memory at all?
yes,
Okay. She met him over the CB, they were talking at night?
yes.
Okay. Do you know, after the first contact she had, how quickly they got together?
No,
Would you say it was within a few months of them talking that they got together?
I'm not sure.
Okay. Fairly quickly, though.
I was a kid, I didn't pay attention to that detail.
Fair enough. Fair enough. And when you first moved in, did you click with Jim, your dad, right away? Did you feel like you were part of the family?
Yes,
Did he act like you were one of his kids?
yes,
And your mom treated Jim's kids the same way, right?
yes,
Okay. He referred to you as his daughter.
yes,
And then from the time you first moved into that first house, you guys kind of moved around a little bit. You moved into a Schwabenau at one point, and then moved back to Pulaski, and then eventually you made it to the Kunish Road property, correct?
yes.
Did you make all those moves with them? Or-
No,
No? What was the last house you stayed at? Do you recall?
the Eschwabenan one.
So once they moved,
Wait, no.
I'm sorry.
The one in Pulaski.
Okay, just so clarification, I'm sorry, I was slightly talking over you. You moved from a Schwabenau back to Pulaski, and that was the last house you resided in?
It was my senior year,
Okay.
yes.
And then, once you moved out of the residence, how frequently did you have contact with Jim and your mother?
I did for a while.
When you say you had frequent contact, was that once a week, twice a week, more than that? Or we're talking like once a month, twice a month?
It depends on what time in our life you're talking about.
Right after you moved out?
Frequently.
Okay. When did that contact slow? When you got married?
It was hit and miss when I got married.
And when did you get married? What year?
Which marriage?
Ah, good question. Your first marriage.
Okay. 95.
Okay. In 95, how frequent was the contact when you got married? Fairly frequent?
My mom was my maid of honor then.
Okay. And then when did you get divorced from your first husband?
98.
98? And you got married to your current husband?
Correct.
When was that marriage?
And 04.
2004.
Yeah.
Starting in 2004, how frequent was the contact with your mother?
That wasn't very often.
Okay. And would you go out and visit them at the Kunish Road property?
Yes.
How frequently would you say you were visiting? Once they moved into the Kunish Road property, how frequent would you say you would visit?
I was only there a few times.
Okay. When you did visit your mom, do you recall what she was dressed like?
Not super dressed up, but in her comfies, I guess you can call it.
Okay. So it would be unusual for your mom to be super dressed up on a random Tuesday or a Thursday.
She used to do it, but not as much anymore.
Okay. And when you talk about the infrequency of contact, did you have more phone contact with your mother towards the end? Before she went missing?
Yes, because I work long hours.
Okay. And you indicated you were a CNA, right?
Mm-hmm.
What hospital do you work at?
Aurora.
Aurora, okay. Was there times when you attempted to call your mom that she didn't always answer the phone?
Yes.
Was that closer towards the time before she went missing? Or was that basically
She would do that sporadically the last few years.
So sporadically the last few years, when you say few years, it's about 3 years. Is that fair to say the last 3 years, the phone contact was pretty sporadic?
Yeah.
Okay. And when you would contact your mother, did she talk a lot about what was going on at the house?
No.
Would she say good or bad about the house? She would just,
She would say she didn't feel good. She would say sometimes I don't have much to say, much to talk about, I don't do much.
and you were aware your mom had some mental health issues, correct?
She does.
You're aware that she had multiple personality disorder diagnosis?
Years ago she got it, yeah.
Okay. Did you ever see any of her personalities?
Not since I've been little, or I would say middle school, high school, early high school years. It's been many years since that has happened.
Okay. She was with Jim, though, when she had some of these personalities?
Correct.
Okay. But she always suffered from depression. Let's talk a little bit about the garage incident. I know you said you didn't know much about it, but you do recall it occurred, right? Or is that only from your sister?
No, I don't even recall it.
Okay.
It's only from Marcia.
You don't know anything really about it?
I don't remember it. I'm not saying it didn't happen, but I don't recall it.
Do you recall if you got any information on whether or not she left a note on that incident?
No,
Okay. Do you know if your mom was acting strange around that time it occurred?
I don't, like I said, I don't even call the incident for me to answer, honestly.
In it was referred to as the 2003 incident. Was it more November of 2002 when, right around Thanksgiving time, when your mom did the pill overdose that Wesley found her?
It could have been 02. It was around Thanksgiving.
Around Thanksgiving time,
Deer
could have been
hunting,
02, beginning of...
Thanksgiving, yeah.
Sorry about that. No, so you think it could have been November of 2002 around Thanksgiving?
It could have been.
And did you have much contact with your mother around that time?
Not a lot.
Okay. Did you have any indication that she was contemplating suicide at that time?
No, but her house reflected she was not in a good spot.
When you say her house would reflect that she's not in a good spot, how would you know?
Because she had projects started and didn't finish, and if you've seen Mom's house, you would know. It just was not her.
Okay. And when you found out that she did this overdose, who first told you? Was it your brother Wes? Was it your dad Jim? Who told you about it?
That I don't remember.
You don't remember how you found out your mother was at the hospital?
No, that I cannot honestly answer that.
Okay. Did you know that she wrote a note?
They had said she left a note. I didn't see it.
You've never seen those notes even to today?
No.
Okay. You wouldn't know any of the contents of those notes either?
No.
And nobody ever told you what was in those notes?
No.
Okay. When you visited your mother at the hospital after that incident, was your mother upset about being found?
Then she was, yes.
And I want to be
Yeah.
perfectly clear. We're talking 2002, not in the future, but 2002 when she was at the hospital. She was upset that she was found after her suicide attempt.
Yes.
And that's when she made the statement, next time nobody's going to find her.
Yes, she was very angry.
Okay. And did she tell you, or did she tell you, Wes, Marcia, Jim? Did she?
She just told me,
Were you guys alone when that occurred?
yes,
Where were you when she made this statement? Were you still in the hospital?
yes.
Were you leaving the hospital at that time?
I believe maybe I was bringing her home. Yes.
And was she angry with the situation, at least in 2002?
Yes.
Okay. And when you went back to her home, did her home reflect that she was not in a good place at that time, as you just described?
Yes.
Did you ever tell anybody about that statement?
No.
You never told your sister Marcia about it?
Nope.
You never told your brother Wes about it?
Nope.
When did you tell anybody about that statement?
I told Jim about that statement when I was walking home from work after Mom had gone missing, and we were talking on the phone. And I had said, Mom had said you would never find me next time.
Okay. So your mom makes this angry statement,
Correct.
and you don't tell any of your siblings or the man she's living with that next time you're not going to find her.
No.
Why didn't you tell anybody?
I didn't. And then she would, like I had said earlier, she says I say things and I really don't mean it.
So if she said that, if I take your word as that she says things that she really doesn't mean it, what if she said, I'm very happy today, but maybe she doesn't mean it? How would you know if she's telling you the truth?
Correct, I agree. But you can tell when Mom is happy.
Okay. If I'm clear, though, you didn't see her since November of 2012 till the time she went missing, correct?
Yeah, that would be right.
Okay. So about a
Roughly,
6-month period?
yes. I talked to her in February. I actually got through in February and talked to her.
So you spoke to her in February. That was the last time you spoke with her prior to her going missing?
Yep.
So you wouldn't have known what kind of state of mind she was in when she went missing?
No.
You didn't see her house to know what kind of state of mind she was in?
I seen that house. I'm talking the house in 2002 when the second suicide attempt. You could tell she was not in a good spot. This house was very clean. It was put together. Yes, I seen her house here.
Okay, you saw her house after she went missing.
Yes.
Prior to that, you haven't seen her house.
When they moved in and stuff, I've been there, yeah.
Right. I'm just trying to get the mindset of the 6 months prior to her going missing. You didn't see her house. You don't know if it was clean. You don't know if it was dirty. You don't know what her state of mind was exactly.
No.
Okay. And if I'm clear, then the last time you spoke with her was February of 2013, correct?
Right.
Did she indicate to you anything going on in her life at that time?
No.
What was the nature of the conversation in February of 2013?
I had asked her what she did when I pulled stunts, like my daughter did to me, that I was moving out.
So you're looking for some motherly advice?
Correct.
There wasn't really a discussion about her health?
She said she wasn't feeling good again then.
Now, moving forward from 2002 to 2008, there was a pill overdose, and there was
Correct.
no indication that this was a suicide attempt, correct?
Correct.
The pill overdose in 2008, do you know what pills she took?
No.
Do you know if they were prescription pills or over the counter?
No.
Do you know where she was found?
I want to say in the bathroom.
Okay. Who found her at that time?
I think Jim did,
You think Jim did?
but I'm not sure.
Did you go and see her after the 2008 incident where she accidentally overdosed?
Yes.
What was your mother's demeanor at that time?
It was good. She kept saying it was an accident. She didn't intentionally do it.
Now, do you recall an incident in November of 2012? Did your sister talk to you about an incident where she found your mom in the bed?
She told me about that, yeah.
She told you about it, but you weren't aware of it?
No.
Okay. When you got the phone call on April 26, 2013, and it was from your mother's phone, do you recall what you said to how you answered the phone?
Yeah, I said, hey, stranger.
When you say, hey, stranger, did that give the indication that you just haven't talked to her in a while?
We both would say that back and forth to each other.
Okay. And When you found out your mother was missing, did you go anywhere to look for her?
Yeah, we did not at that day.
Not the day that you got the phone call. Did you go looking for her anywhere? Or did your sister go looking for her anywhere
That day.
specifically? No?
No.
And just to be clear, the first phone call you got about your mother being missing came from a police officer, not from Jim and not from Wes.
Correct.
Wes lived in the house, correct?
Yes.
Wes doesn't work. Is that true?
Right.
Wes, is, because of the burns that he received that you testified to, he's disabled and he does not work at all, right?
Right.
So every day he's at home, he's home with your mother.
Right.
He's there anytime she needs to leave, correct?
Right.
Wes
Unless
has a
he's
cell
by
phone?
friends. I said unless he's by some friends.
Okay. Other than if Wes is by his friends,
Right.
for the most part, he lived with your parents, correct?
Right.
So if your mom needed to run an errand or she needed to go somewhere and Wes was around, he could take her.
Yes.
Okay. Wes had a cell phone, I would assume.
Yes.
Wes worked on computers, correct?
Yes.
So there would have been internet in the house, true?
Yes.
And neither Jim nor Wes contacted you or Marcia about your mom being missing.
No.
When you talked to Wes, did he seem overly concerned that she was missing?
No.
Does he kind of have a withdrawn kind of demeanor, pretty
Yes.
quiet? Would
Yes.
you say Wes and Jim's demeanor are similar?
Wes and whose?
Wes and your father, Jim's. Would you say their demeanor is somewhat similar or their personality similar?
A little bit.
Okay. Neither one of them talk about their personal lives much with people, do they?
No.
Wes, would you consider a pretty quiet person?
Yes.
You would also consider your father, Jim, a pretty quiet person.
Yes.
Did you ever reach out to your mother's doctor? Her psychiatrist that she saw the day she went missing?
I tried calling, yeah.
Did you ever get a call back?
Gosh, I don't remember.
Did you ever recall having a conversation with them at all?
I believe I attempted to call, and there was the HIPAA thing that they couldn't tell me anything.
Did you ever talk to a nurse there?
I don't remember.
If there was a medical note that indicated you made a phone call out there, would that be accurate?
At the what?
If there was a medical note indicating that you made a phone call to the doctor's office on April 30th, 2013, would that sound about right?
Like I said, I could be, because I want to say there was they said what HIPAA, I couldn't get any information.
Okay. Did you leave a message for them?
Oh, gosh. I would say I probably did.
Okay. You don't recall what you said specifically?
No, it's been how long ago?
Understood.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you can get up and stretch out for a minute if you like. We'll just be a few more minutes. Thank you.
I just wanted to get a mark so I could just refresh your memory.
That's right. We're going to take 2 minutes here or so. Okay, go ahead, Mr. D'Angelo.
Your Honor, may I approach the witness?
Yes.
Thank you. Ms. Deere, I'm going to hand you some marked as Exhibit 30. You probably don't recognize the document, but could you turn to the last page, please? Could you not read out loud, but just refresh your memory with the written text in the note, please? Does that refresh your memory, ma'am?
Oh, it's exactly what I've been saying, so
Yeah.
I would think.
So specifically, the last line there, it says, patient left the house with only a few cigarettes and some Xanax. You told the doctor's office that, correct?
I said, I don't recall saying this. I didn't read that part. Left the house, I don't recall saying that.
Where would the doctor's office would have got that
I
information?
have no idea.
Don't talk over each other, please.
Sure. You don't have any idea where they would have got that information?
I don't recall saying that information.
Okay. Now, you indicated, moving forward, that your mom was a smoker. Would you consider her a heavy smoker?
Yes,
When you say heavy smoker, and I apologize, I'm not a smoker, so when you say heavy smoker, is that 1 pack a day, 2 pack a day, or am I overdoing it?
I would say at least for 1 to 2, but she would let them burn a lot too.
Okay. But there's a term, chain smoker. Would she be considered a chain
Yes.
smoker?
Yes,
Yes, okay. If she's a pretty heavy smoker, would she have multiple packs of cigarettes laying around the house?
they used to buy them by the carton. They didn't anymore.
Okay.
Yes.
When you went and looked at the residence and you saw your mom's purse, did you look through her purse?
I don't recall.
Okay. Do you know if there was any cigarettes found inside her purse?
I don't remember.
You indicated that when your mom would leave the house, when you say leave the house, meaning leave the residence area, she would take her purse with you, correct?
Right.
If she just went for a walk around the house, it wouldn't be typical, and I say around the house means the outside of the house, it wouldn't be typical that she would take her purse, correct?
No.
But she would take her cigarettes, true?
Right.
Okay. Now, after you were notified your mom was missing, you were told not to come out to the property because they wanted to run the dogs. Is that accurate?
Right.
Okay. Do you remember who told you that?
Jim did.
Okay. Did you have any reason to believe that he wasn't telling you the truth, that that's what the officers wanted to do?
Yeah.
Did it make sense when you started working with all those search parties that people sensed could screw up the dog searching?
Yes.
Okay. When you went out to see Jim and Wes on that Sunday, did you have a conversation with Wes with regards to your mom being missing?
I asked what her demeanor was that day.
Okay. And would you say that of the siblings, your mom and Wes had the closest relationship?
Yes.
Your mom and Wes kind of lived for each other, true?
Right.
And your mom would do anything for Wes, and Wes would do anything for your mom.
Yes.
Did you find it odd that neither Jim nor Wes contacted you when their mother went missing?
A little bit, yes.
Would you find it a little bit more odd, since Wes had such a close relationship, that he didn't call you and Marcia and say, Mom's missing?
Yes.
So you were asked about all these different searches. To the best of your knowledge, and you've been living this since 2013, the best of your knowledge, have any of those searches, the dog searches, the people in pause searches, the horse searches, the drones, the planes, all the dive teams, have they found any evidence, to the best of your knowledge, of where your mom is?
No,
Any leads of where she might be?
no,
You made the indication that Jim wasn't involved in any of the searches. Do you recall if your brother Wes was involved in any of the searches?
no,
Wes didn't go out looking for him either?
no.
Do you recall how old Wes was at that time?
What is he, 40? Maybe 37,
In his 30s?
late 30s?
Understand that Wes was fairly badly burned, but he was still physically able to move around and walk, correct?
Yes,
His major disability is with his hand?
yes.
Okay. Did you ever question Wes why he didn't come on the searches?
He said it was the way he dealt. He couldn't handle it.
Okay. You made the indication that Jim said you're not going to find her here. Were you searching the same areas that the police already searched when you did your civilian searches?
He said he just said you're not going to find her. Well, yeah, around here.
You're not going to find her around here.
Right.
So to clarify my question, when you got that statement, was that after the police did the search of the area?
Well, we searched everywhere. We searched we had to get people's permission to go on their property. I mean, those teams searched more than just what the police searched.
I understand that. I just want to be clear that when you say you're not going to find her around here, was that statement made when you were searching the property, the Kunish Road property?
Around the property, yes, I guess.
Okay.
I mean, you've done a lot of searches, so yeah, around that property.
And was that search done after the police and their specialized trained dogs were out there looking?
The Peoples and Paws came out the first one, yes.
Okay. And that's when he made the indication you're not going to find her around here?
He said that after that, yes.
Okay. Do you know when he said it? Like what search?
I'm not sure.
Do you know approximately how far down the road from her time she went missing to the time he made that statement? Like how, was that a few months? Was it a few years? Or is it within a few days?
I would say we did the searches within the first few months, so.
Okay. And nobody, throughout this entire time, nobody has given you any indication of how she disappeared?
No,
Okay. Did you ever have any concerns about Jim's care of your mother from the time they got married to the time she went missing?
for his care for her?
As far as her health care, her mental health care, her providing him her meds, did you have any concern about the way he was handling it?
I'm going to object to the form of the question. If you want to break that down, that's pretty compound and complicated.
Sure. I'll break it down, Your Honor. So let's start with, from the time Jim started taking your mother to doctor's appointments for her mental health, did you have any concerns about how he was taking care of her or giving her her meds?
No.
Okay. When it came to her cancer and her colon surgery, did you have any concerns about how Jim was treating her, as far as taking care of her physical needs?
No, not at that point.
Okay. You say not at that time.
Mom had expressed to me that she wouldn't she needed medication or she would need to go to the doctor and Dad wouldn't take her. And she didn't want to do that because Dad would complain over the bills.
You would agree that your parents weren't wealthy people.
Right,
He worked a trucking job.
right,
So money was a constant battle, correct?
right.
To the best of your knowledge, though, she did get all the medication and treatment she needed for her cancer surgery, correct?
Correct.
And she was always going to the doctor for her mental health, and he would take her those, correct?
Ooh, as far as what I know, yes.
Now, with regards to her care, isn't it true you had a conversation with your mom in February that she made a statement that she finally got the husband she always wanted, correct?
Meaning he was attentive to her.
Attentive.
But too attentive, she said, because I can't even go warm up my own coffee. He doesn't let me do anything.
And did you have any concerns about that, about him being too attentive?
I didn't think anything at the time, no.
Looking back now your opinion's starting to change?
Well, that if he wanted her to be stronger and he wouldn't let her nuke her coffee, yeah.
Did he ever prevent her from going out for her walks that she wanted to go on?
Not to my knowledge.
Do you know, there was talk about your mother and there was a cane in her room found, correct?
Right.
You don't know whether or not your mom was using the cane at the time she went missing, do you?
I don't know if she was using it then. I know she was prior, and she told me she was because she would fall a lot.
But you don't know from the time you spoke with her in February till the time she went missing in April whether or not she got strong enough to walk without a cane.
Right.
Okay. Did you ever ask Wes if mom was still using the cane?
No.
Okay. There was a discussion about your mom and dad having a conversation on the way back from the doctor's office about a tablecloth, and that he didn't want to stop at Walmart to go get the tablecloth at that time, correct?
Correct.
It's been couched as it was an argument. Do you know if it was really an argument or just more of, hey, Jim, I want to go get the tablecloth? He's like, maybe we can do it later kind of thing, or was it a blown-out fight?
I wasn't there. I don't know.
Okay.
Well,
So you're-
not for what Jim was telling us.
Okay. Who was the one that told you about the argument about the tablecloth?
Jim was saying Mom wanted to stop at the store.
Okay. During the course of this investigation, there was a bunch of leads, right? You've heard different stories and different things. Different leads were occurring at all times, correct?
Right.
Were all those leads investigated by the police, as far as you know?
My knowledge, yeah.
And was there any anything ever directed towards you? Did anybody provide you information directly about a possible lead? You or your husband?
Such as, no, not that
Nope.
I'm recalling.
Okay. Did most of the leads that you found out just be turned into a wild goose chase? As far as that they didn't find anything about where your mother went?
Right.
Okay. There has been some discussion about what your mother's shoes that she was wearing that day, and it was like a stacked boot. Do you know what stacked boots they would have been referring to, or you're not sure?
They said a stacked heel.
A stacked heel.
Right.
Okay. But you don't know which ones they were?
No.
Okay. If your mom was wearing a stacked heel, it would be unusual for her to wear a stacked heel and use a cane, correct?
Yes.
Okay. you would agree that everything you know about what happened on the 25th and the 26th of April 2013 was all given to you by secondhand knowledge from either Jim or Wes or the police, true?
Yes.
You have no firsthand knowledge of your mother's whereabouts?
No.
When you were in the house looking around, did there seem to be anything out of place?
No.
Nothing broken, nothing moved that wasn't always where it was?
We had some knickknacks that were broken sitting on, well, that were glued together, but I don't know when that had happened.
But since the last time you were at that house, nothing looked really out of place?
No.
Ma'am, I know this is an interesting question, but reading through the reports and things, did you and your sister employ some psychics to try to find your mother?
Yes.
Any of those work out?
No.
Okay. Did they give you any indication or leads that you guys followed up on?
No. I mean, they've said stuff, but nothing that we followed up on.
Nothing that stuck that said, oh, this is where Victoria is?
No.
With regards to the stuff in the house, your mom had animals, correct?
Yes.
She had some cats,
Yes.
and she had some birds, correct?
Mhm.
She used those as kind of like her go-to as replacing her children, would you say?
Yes.
Do you know whether or not the cats broke anything in the house or any of that nature? You wouldn't know that for sure.
He glued everything down.
She glued everything down. So the day you went there on the 28th, correct? That would have been that Sunday.
Right.
All of the knickknacks in the house were glued down?
A lot of her stuff was glued down. That's how she decorated.
Okay. With regards to your dad's relationship with Kathy Friday, the first time you heard about it, you think was about 3 months after your mom went missing.
Right.
At that time, he indicated to you that, basically he was looking for, in your opinion, of whether or not you and Marcia and Wes were comfortable with that. Is that fair to say?
I guess, yeah.
Okay. He was looking for your approval, in some sense.
Right.
I think I recall you testifying that you said, if you need to be happy, but what if mom comes back, right?
Right.
Did he ever indicate to you that if mom came back, obviously things would be different as far as any sort of moving on with a relationship?
I don't recall any of that.
You also heard it was brought up about this insurance. Now, this is 3 months after, and he's still paying the health insurance. Did he ever indicate that if she ever came back, he could just put her back on the health insurance?
No,
Do you know when he actually took her off the health insurance?
not the exact date, no.
It wasn't 3 months after she went missing, though, correct?
I'm not sure.
Do you know how long Wes resided with your father before he moved out? Do you know what year that was?
No,
Was it a couple months or a couple years?
I would say it was a good year at least he was there.
At least a year, okay.
Whenever they had to get out of the house, that's when they went their ways.
Did your mom still have some friends when she worked at Super Rounds?
She had some acquaintances there, yes.
Did she still maintain contact with some of her friends when she worked at Super Rounds? Oh, after she retired from Super Rounds?
That I'm not sure.
Do you ever hear the name Sarah Youngs?
Yes.
Do you know if she ever met up with Sarah Youngs after she stopped working at Super Rounds?
I have no clue.
Okay. No further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you. Ms. Lemko, do you have a lot of questions or a few questions? It's 4:30, I'm just wondering.
10 minutes.
Okay, go ahead.
Stacey, you were just asked a bunch of questions by the defense about the fact that Wes was living in the house around the time this happened, and he had not participated in the searches either. Is that right? With respect to Wes, however, was Wes, based upon what you were aware in your discussions, pretty devastated by the loss of your mom?
Yes.
Was Jim exhibiting, based upon what you could see, the same type of concern about your mom being missing
A little bit.
in the beginning?
Yes.
After a couple weeks, couple months, were you seeing that same?
No.
And when you're talking about the concern, however, in the first couple days, he's not searching, but he's also making disparaging remarks about the search. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
Okay. Wes wasn't sitting around telling people they were wasting their time, was he?
No.
He wasn't telling anybody she was gone and wasn't coming back, did he?
He was just sitting there.
Okay. And when we're talking about Wes, Wes had spent time with friends and ended up, it was corroborated, wasn't back at that residence till 4 in the morning. Isn't that right?
Yes.
Okay. So Wes wasn't there from the last time he left at 7 o'clock on that Thursday night until that 4 in the morning when he drives in and sees your dad. He's never at the house, correct?
Right.
So if he's up all night long with his friends and now shows up at 4 a.m., Wes could have been tired that morning. Isn't that right?
Yes.
Okay. And did you talk to him after this all happened?
After
Your mom went missing?
we discussed, yeah.
Okay. And he did go actually to bed that morning thinking your dad had called police. Is that right?
That I'm not sure.
Okay.
Dad stated he was calling the police at some point, but he had to wait 24 hours, he said.
And you had seen Wes's relationship with your mom through the years, and you just had already testified he was very close to her.
Yes.
Okay. Now, when you were asked by the defense about, well, Wes is there every day, you actually weren't living in that residence in 2013, and you were aware Wes spent a lot of time with friends as well.
Right.
With respect to whether or not Wes would stay somewhere a day or a night a week, you aren't aware of that, but you wouldn't know.
Right.
When you were asked by the defense relative to this internet, and well, Wes had internet in his upstairs room up there, was your mom known to access the internet?
No.
Okay. In fact, based upon what everybody's saying, that wasn't something she did.
No.
Okay. Now, around the time, you were also asked questions, around the time that you, well, strike that. The defense asked you a question to which you responded, your mom told you I say things and I don't really mean it. Is that in reference to that statement she said to you?
Yes.
Okay. So basically, it was your understanding your mom retracted the intent of doing something like that to herself.
Yes.
And when the defense asked you about the fact that her house appeared very orderly around the time that she left, and they asked there wasn't anything out of place, that's also a concern for you because you testified that's a reflection of her state of mind. Is that right?
Right.
So when your mom attempted suicide, left a note, and told you she tried to kill herself, her house was in disarray.
It was.
And when you had the opportunity to go to that house 2 days after she's missing, you found it to be orderly.
Right.
So when the defense is asking you about the house being orderly, that is a concern for you.
Right.
Because what was your mom's mental health when things were orderly?
When they weren't,
When they were?
she was in a good spot.
Okay. So the defense asked if every lead that was being brought to law enforcement, it was your understanding, got followed up on. Is that correct?
Right.
Okay. And Jay and Roman, as they're seated here at council table, you and Marcia and Wes cooperated and gave them information all along in this investigation. Is that right?
Right.
And when the defense just talked to you about the searches that were done by people, dogs, horse, sonar, water, air, plane, and drone, they're right. There's everything was looked at with your mom. Is that right?
Yes.
So when the defense just asked you about the fact that everything had been done, and your mom still has not been found. Is that right?
Right.
So based upon everything you know, would your mom have voluntarily left you and never called you again?
I don't believe so.
Would she have done that to Stacey or Wes?
No.
And besides, the defense asked you about your mom regarding driving. She wasn't driving around that time that she left, that she went missing.
Right.
And you don't know if she was walking with a cane in April of 2013, but it's your testimony she told you in February, 2 months prior, she was, because she would fall.
Right.
So based upon that, you had no information that 2 months after your mom told you she was falling and utilizing a cane, that she would have been walking anywhere extensively 2 months later.
Right.
And Stacey, when you were asked some questions about whether you remember things and you're indicating there are certain things that you're not remembering, has the loss of your mother affected you greatly?
Yes.
Have you suffered a lot of trauma as a result of this?
Yes.
I have nothing further.
Thank you. Mr. D'Angelo, do you have any recross?
Just briefly, Your Honor. Ms. Deere, you were just told, or just the state indicated that your brother left the house around 7 a.m. or 7 p.m. when he went out.
Right.
You found out later that he actually left sometime way after 8:30, correct?
No.
You didn't know that?
No.
And you don't know, you said the state of the house, these knickknacks that were glued down, so if the knickknacks were glued down, the house couldn't necessarily be in disarray, right? Because things couldn't move around, true?
Right.
Okay. And with regards to this conversation about your mom and walking with the cane, do you know when she said she stopped using the cane?
No,
So that February conversation, she could have meant she stopped using the cane several months before because you haven't been at the house for 6 months, true?
right?
So if she was walking around, you wouldn't sure. She was talking about when she had the colostomy bag and she was concerned about falling, she'd sometimes use the cane, but you don't know when she stopped.
No. Can I say something? The house is in disarray. I would say the house not completed, not finished decorating, not cleaned. That's what I'm referring to is, like, mom's not in a good spot when things like that are not about knickknacks,
Okay.
not moving.
But it could have been, so you say disarray if the pots weren't cleaned or something?
No, not pots, not clean.
Or you're just saying like just general
Just,
cleanliness?
my mom was a neat freak. She was very clean.
Okay. If you haven't been around the last 6 months, how do you know if your mom was in a good or a bad spot?
Look at her house. Her house
That
was
the
clean.
definitive answer, though?
You could tell when mom was in a good spot. I'm not saying she didn't have depression, and she may not have had the best days, but you could tell by how she lived.
And you didn't go to her doctor's appointments with her, so you don't know what she was saying to her doctors at that time, correct?
No.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you, and you are excused then. Thank you very much. Okay, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I do have to give you an admonition, jurors, and I'll caution you not to discuss this case with anyone, not even among yourselves, until this case is submitted to you in final deliberations, for your final deliberations jury room. And you are then to discuss it only among yourselves in the jury room. Thank you very much for your attention, and we'll see you at 8:30 a.m. tomorrow's bailiff Tom will be looking for you right up here. Stand for the jury, please. Okay, have a seat, everybody. Thank you. And the record should reflect the jury is now gone. I am looking at my order on the thanks you, Marvin, on the bad acts, and I'm looking on page 6 where I said the following bad acts are not to be admitted. Any testimony by Lisa Masti as it relates to the defendant, and that relates to not any testimony, any gun testimony. So, I mean, any testimony is, obviously it's the daughter. So everybody should be aware of that. Okay, we'll see everybody tomorrow morning, let's say at 8:25, in case there's anything that comes up.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.